Hello, my name is Shayla Williams again, candidate at Peak Preview Agricultural and Mechanical University. This is my informal observation and reflection video connected to my first formal needs assessment activity. In the reflection, I will discuss what I learned, how I plan to use those learning in the future, and what experience I need to take my learning to the next level. I also reflect on some specific deep parts of the activity that stood out to me and how they connect to my leadership journey. One of the biggest lessons I learned is the importance of structured collaboration. Before, sometimes I thought of a need assessment was just looking at number, which was the star data, the map results. But what I realized through this process is the need assessment is really about building a narrative around data. It's to make data not so scary. We want to look at the data, be truthful and be honest about it, but not be hurtful. The numbers alone don't tell the whole story. It takes discussion with teacher, coaches, and administrators to interpret what those numbers really mean for students in their classroom. I also learned that when different stakeholders are at the table, the conversation shifts. So we had a science teacher here who also taught math the year prior, and we also had our resource teacher, which she had some of the highest numbers last year of case teachers in the district, so they moved her to resource because her students took the star off. I also feel like it opens the line of communications because when I'm going back, I do have to provide this video to my administrator, explain to them what I learned, and I can say I learned different perspectives because it was the pressure of like you were not scared to say anything wrong and they were truthful about what happened. So, for example, in the meeting, we discussed 7th grade math scores. On paper, it like students did not show any growth. We were only at 24% of 44% approach, and we had one teacher who made 24% of their students approach. But as we went along, we really understood and we looked at the map data at the end of the year. The students did grow. There was a 1% gain. So even though the achievement was not there for STAR, there was growth for the students. We can't just look at the data alone. What is actually going on in the classroom? As when Ms. Young mentioned, that she didn't believe that she got all the support needed for her to be successful teaching 6th grade math. Because as we went through, it's kind of eye-opening for Dr. Jones because she didn't understand the difference because in middle school math, how it's taught in elementary math last year, because there was like a gap between Eureka and Carnegie. But now all schools in Spring ISD for math is using Bluebonnet. But so they also spoke of what was going on. Ms. Jones, Dr. Jones, who is the SPED resource teacher, she mentioned that some students was not receiving their accommodations, or some students did not know how to use their accommodation or was embarrassed. So what can we do as a school to work on having the kids advocate for themselves? So if you don't get it, what can we do? So that was another something I learned, like, in the future, I will use these lessons in three main ways. First, I'll be intentional in planning and facilitating meetings. A need assessment is not just a casual conversation, it requires preparation. I will make sure that before the meeting, I gather and organize the right data, present it in a clear and accessible way, and prepare guiding questions to help participants analyze the information deeply. Also think about the flow of meeting, when to present data and when to pause for discussion and when to push the group toward concise. Secondly, I will use this experience to strengthen my role as a listener. As a leader, it is easy to fall into the trap of wanting to provide solutions right away, but what I saw during this activity is that some of the best solutions came from simply allowing teachers to voice what they were seeing in their classroom. Going forward, I want to practice asking open-ended questions like, what do you notice about the results? What pattern stands out to you? Then allowing the group to build solutions together. Third, I will use what I learned to connect need assessment results directly to action steps. Too often, meetings end with good discussion but no clear next steps. In my future leadership role, I will ensure that each need assessment ends with one or two actionable strategies that are attainable with a date. So we're using a SMART goal that are tied to the campus improvement plan. Professional development goals are student intervention systems. For example, if we identify that student struggles with constructive response, the next steps will be making sure that they are writing across all contents. Or like we identify the PDs. So what are we actually planning? Professional developments that are needed for the teacher. It's not this, oh, we gave PDs, but is it worth it? Was it worth the teacher time to sit down? What did they learn from it? And then we can track it by making sure teachers fill out an end of a survey, or we can track it by when the administrators do walkthroughs, which they currently have to do. Each administrator have to have 10 walkthroughs a week. So are they noticing an upward trend when it comes to their walkthrough evaluations? To take my learning to the next level, I need to deepen my skills in several areas. One area is facilitating data conversations. Right now, I feel comfortable analyzing data on my own, but leading others through the process is a difficult skill. I struggled with giving the staff member time to talk about it and reflect as a group. It was just more of sit and reflect and then share out. I will benefit from showing my site supervisor and other administrator when they lead data talks. Watch how they frame the conversation, handle pushback, and keep the focus on students on how we can help students grow. Another area I need more experience is making sure I have a why behind everything. So how do I handle if somebody did not agree with what I had to say? Or making sure I am prepared to answer any questions. Like for me, I was unaware that some students were not getting their accommodations. So what would it, like, by accommodation, so how could I help that problem? So before I go in these meetings, I should know the why behind every data number of why teachers are not being properly prepared for their job. Finally, I want to grow in my ability to connect findings to professional learning and teacher coaching. For example, the need assessment team mentioned that students are having a problem with vocabulary. So they're struggling with answering the question because they do not understand what the question is asking them. So I would be able to connect that targeted PD, classroom walkthrough, and ongoing support for teachers, so would it show that they're building that bridge from data to practice would be critical in my role as an assistant principal. So as we're going to having PDs of teaching teachers how to answer the question. So what did this question mean? What did this question ask me to do? Is this all-purpose question? Is it asking me to divide? What is the question asking me? Will we be able to see it during our data? And by December, we'll be able to see for our MOY that students are able to better understand how to answer a question. Or during walkthroughs with the assistant principals and principal be able to understand that these kids are putting in practice what the teacher learned during the professional development. One part of 45-minute observation that stood out to me is when they acknowledged the 8th grade LA team, because that was a trying year. We had first teacher lasted a month. It was subs until January. Had a teacher, she lasted 2 weeks. Subs for 3 weeks. The long-term sub became a teacher. She lasted 2 weeks. Subs again, and then we had the interventionist stepped in, but then they pulled her back out that position. So that class had 4 teachers, but no one for a 9-week period. I love that they was able to give Miss Glenn her props, because she had 93% growth and 89% of her and 89% of for student achievement. Another takeaway was the connection between equity and need assessment. At Dewey Middle School, majority of our students are economically disadvantaged, and many are at risk. The data makes it clear that if we do not intentionally plan supports for these student achievement gaps will widen. A need assessment focus on us to shine lights on those gaps and commit to addressing them, not just in theory but in practice. So, what are we doing to support our kids who may not come from a good home? How can we align our curriculum and make it engaging and fun for all students to be able and be willing to learn? Finally, this activity reinforces the idea that leadership is about influence, not position. Even though I am not yet an AP, by facilitating this needed assessment, I have the chance to influence the direction of instructional focus at our campus. It reminded me that leadership is a set of action, not position. So listening, guiding, organizing, motivating is not just a title. In conclusion, this form of observation and reflection showed me how powerful a need assessment could be when it's approached with intentional collaboration and focus on students. I learned that data by itself is not enough. It must be paired with teacher insight, structured dialogue, and a commitment to action. Moving forward, I will take what I learned to improve how I plan and facilitate conversations of how I learn and build concise, and how I connect assessment results to actionable, attainable, and actionable strategies. To reach the next level, I need more experience with leading data talks, engaging with family, and managing conflicts for a time when the team does not agree with what the problem is. Overall, this experience has confirmed to me that I'm on the right path in my leadership journey. It gave me both the confidence and clarity about the kind of leader I want to be. One who listens, collaborates, and focuses on student success. I look forward to applying these lessons as I continue to work towards my goal.